No? Okay. Go ahead.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm Nathan Meredith.
I'm Drew Williams.
I'm Julianna Nunez.
I'm Jeremy Collado.
And
And
here we go. And our debate is on how the U.S. should ban the production of nuclear weapons. Here we go. The U.S. should ban the production of nuclear weapons in the U.S. Since the Cold War, nuclear energy and power has been a big topic of interest. From nuclear bomb to nuclear energy, there are advantages and disadvantages to both. However, the creation of nuclear weapons should be banned from this country. During World War II, the U.S. dropped a nuclear bomb that killed thousands of innocent people but also helped end the war. There are both good and bad things that come out of this terrible act by the U.S. The effects of the nuclear bomb were irreversible and can never be forgotten, and that incident should never happen to any other country ever again. The production of nuclear weapons is a security threat. It is not safe in anybody's hands. It damages the environment and leaves radiation, and it can take the lives of millions if there was another nuclear war. Alexander Glosser wrote in Scientific America that the production of nuclear weapons is a national security issue and is a super dangerous job. Since the U.S. has 6,800 nuclear weapons, if any other country or terrorist group was to get their hands on them, there could be millions of lives taken and most of the country into piles of dust. This issue is that all countries want nuclear weapons to defend themselves, so they would want to come to the U.S. and take our nukes in order to protect themselves or even bomb other countries. Nuclear weapons will never be a safe thing to own, and if a big war broke out and we were threatened by other countries' nuclear weapons, the whole world would get involved and the whole population can die from thousands and thousands of nukes deployed by the whole world and all the countries. The production of nukes is not safe no matter what country has it. For example, North Korea has been producing nuclear weapons to use on anybody they feel fit to go to war with. And since their dictator is not mentally sane, they should not be trusted by it and can fire on anyone at any time. Even the hand of our own country is not safe because our leader at the moment seems very willing to go to war with anybody for any reason. The world is not safe with nuclear weapons by any country that possesses them. The nuclear damage after a blast of a nuclear bomb leaves years and years of radiation and terrible damages. The lasting effect after a nuclear bomb occurs contaminate the land for more than 60 years at least. The radiation caused by a test in Russia resulted in an estimated 60,000 people that died from cancer, and 500,000 people received disability aid from the Kazakh authorities in Russia. The lasting effects are not worth the nuclear weapons. It can kill just as much as a regular explosion can, and also destroy the entire land and environment, contaminating everything with radiation. When a nuclear explosion goes off, everything near it is vaporized, and the explosion moves away. The ground turns into a flow of molten lava. The explosion is the hottest thing on the face of the earth and kills everything and anything in its path. If this was to happen in a city, there would be nothing left. The objects closest to it wouldn't even exist anymore. The mass destruction of everything near the nuclear bomb can lead to millions of deaths anywhere, anytime. There should be a ban on the production of nuclear weapons in the U.S., and hopefully that would encourage the ban of the production everywhere else. This will lead to a safer world and the savings of millions of lives.
2-minute crossings. So, if I heard you correctly, you said there were good and bad things about in World War II when the U.S. dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, correct?
Yes.
And would you say that one of those good things that happened was peace?
Yes, but also thousands of lives died. The nuclear bomb ended the war, but at a certain cost. And if that were to happen nowadays, there would probably be more millions of lives lost rather than thousands.
Would you say that the threat of nuclear war keeps peace?
Yes and no. I feel that if there was a nuclear war that broke out, everybody would join, and there would be countries just dying because nukes would be dropped everywhere.
You mentioned North Korea. So if we stopped the production of nuclear weapons, would we assume that North Korea would do the same? Or you mentioned that the leader was unstable, so why would he follow our lead?
I feel that since our country's leader and their country's leader have just talked recently in the past that there would be some sort of agreement, and I feel that other countries would also piggyback on the idea of banning the production of nuclear weapons once we did it, and or another country like North Korea.
Do you have any evidence for that, or are those just your feelings?
Those are assumptions I've made.
Okay, thank you. No further questions. Okay, is it my speech?
Yeah, 5 minutes from negative.
So that's me.
Wait, are you sure? Is it Harley or Joker?
It's Joker.
Joker.
Okay, go.
Alright, starting now.
So the opposition policy case is the U.S. should not ban the production of nuclear war weapons in the U.S. If the United States were to ban the production of nuclear war weapons in the U.S., then we would have less production. We would have less protection of the United States as a whole. So the resolution would be we should not ban the production of nuclear war weapons. Now, if you guys don't know what nuclear warfare is, it's sometimes known as atomic warfare or thermonuclear warfare. It's a military conflict or a political strategy in which nuclear weaponry is used to inflict damage on the enemy. Disadvantage 1, uniqueness. If we were to ban the production, we would come off to other countries as weak. Link. The U.S. currently has 6,550 of the 1,500 nuclear weapons made. Davenport. Internal link. The U.S. needs to continue to be competitive with Russia because we need to stay powerful. Impact. The less production, the weaker the United States look. Disadvantage 2. Currently, according to the Business Insider, our nuclear arsenal is decades outdated. From Lowther of the year 2017. Link. The plan for the U.S. to ban the production of nuclear weapons causes the U.S. to stop advancing its nuclear technology. Internal link. The U.S. would fall behind in nuclear technology compared to other countries like Russia, who, according to Foreign Affairs, is still investing their nuclear arsenal. From Oliver. Impact. If the U.S. bans the production of nuclear weapons in the U.S., then our nuclear arsenal will be inferior to other countries that are still producing nuclear weapons. We wouldn't be able to properly protect ourselves with inferior weapons. So, counter connection 1. Some say that the U.S. should stop the production of nuclear weapons in the U.S. because nuclear weapons can cause a significant amount of human life to be lost. However, nuclear weapons would make people more safe because the threat of nuclear war prevents countries from going into big wars with each other. Therefore, the U.S. should keep producing nuclear weapons. And since 1945, nuclear weapons have eliminated great power wars, saving the lives of untold millions. Now it's from Lowther. The warrant. The U.S. should keep producing nuclear weapons because nuclear weapons deter countries with nuclear weapons from going to war with each other. And the significance of that is the threat of nuclear war prevents countries with nuclear power from going to war with each other, and that saves countless lives. And then counter connection 2. So banning the production of nuclear weapons in the U.S. would end up being more damaging to the environment. And according to the Vision launched nuclear weapons serve as a war deterrent, and that's from Lombardo. The warrant is if the U.S. banned the production of nuclear weapons, then the war deterrent would be less making. I'm so sorry, never mind. Significance. The U.S. can't stop producing nuclear weapons because the threat of countries with nuclear weapons using them is a big deterrent from nuclear war. If the threat starts to go away in the U.S. and other countries, then they would be more inclined to using their nuclear weapons, which would have terrible environmental consequences. Also, counter connection 3. It poses a constant threat and mass destruction, and it can take millions of lives. According to Nicole Somerset of Stanford University, harmful psychological effects include anxiety, fear of devastating war, and anxiety of lost control on one's own life. There are many ways of combating and getting help with anxiety, and there are ways to live and cope with it. And the significance of that is if something is very fixable, threats don't always mean a certain outcome.
Weird. Is that my turn?
No, it's my turn.
Are you
Josh
sure?
says.
Yeah.
So you say that in order to stay powerful against Russia, we need to keep building more. But I thought that our country's leaders were kind of friends at the moment, so I don't see why that we have to do that. But why stay powerful when there's only about 9 other countries that have nuclear weapons?
Okay, so if you put it this way, you can be friends with someone, but they can stab you in the back, right? Friends always go about that. And also, it's better as a country just to always be prepared and be higher than all the other ones, because you never know what can happen.
You also say that there's a threat of war. The threat of war is because of nuclear weapons.
No, so basically, like nuclear weapons, we say we're gonna go to war with nuclear weapons, but we never do because we're too scared to. And so, if they're not there, then we'll actually go to war, which is like fighting with like swords and stuff.
Then why waste millions and millions of dollars creating these weapons when we aren't even going to use them? And why are
But
they
it's
just
not
make-believe threats?
Oh, we're not wasting it because it's for our protection.
I just think that we have enough bombs already. Thank you.
Here's my
Go
turn.
ahead, tell me.
Huh? Alright.
Our nuclear weapons are
Alright.
Is it my turn?
I think it's my turn.
Are you? What the heck?
Affirmative, right?
Yeah, you're Robin.
Okay.
Yeah.
The U.S. should ban the productivity of nuclear weapons in the U.S. The main reason nuclear weapons should be banned is that they kill or severely injure innocent people. They can kill people instantly, or they can cause a slow, painful death. Painful death is caused by the fallout, which is the chemical used when making the bomb. The chemical is usually radium or plutonium, and both are extremely deadly when inhaled. If inhaled small amounts of either chemical, you will have a chance of living, but with health issues the rest of your life. Large amounts will eat the human body away and kill them rather quickly over time. According to theguardian.com, nuclear weapons release intense ionizing radiation that jeopardizes any immediate survivors, causes acute and long-term illnesses including cancers that are often deadly, and leaves a legacy of genetic and intergenerational health harm. Nuclear weapons are extremely expensive to make, and the cheapest ones would cost no less than $1 million a piece. So while the U.S. is already trillions of dollars in debt, making nuclear weapons do not help. Instead of paying for nuclear weapons and paying people to make the nuclear weapons, we should focus on other things and paying off the debt. An accident can happen, and thousands, even hundreds of thousands, can be at risk of being killed, if not severely injured. According to theguardian.com, there have been a total of 56 nuclear accidents. Few have resulted in fatalities, but what if a huge mistake happens that puts us all at risk? A big mistake can easily happen, and it's been long overdue. Mass destruction is a real thing and is extremely scary. If we were to get into a nuclear war and bombs were to be dropped, millions of lives could be at risk. A singular nuclear weapon can destroy a city and kill most of the people inside. Nuclear weapons are beyond us and should not be taken lightly. We must ban the creation of nuclear weapons in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you start? You said then?
Yeah.
My opponent says that the U.S. should ban the production of nuclear weapons because of the detrimental effects on the environment that nuclear weapons have, and because they kill millions if detonated. However, the U.S. needs to keep the production of nuclear weapons because nuclear weapons were only used twice during World War II, and ever since, never again, and probably never will be used again because of the detrimental effects on the environment and the huge amounts of life lost. The threat of nuclear war was so great that it prevented everyone from using it on each other ever again, which is why the U.S. needs to keep this threat of nuclear war alive. If this threat were to die or to go away, other countries might be more tempted to use their nuclear weapons on us or on other people, which would have terrible effects on the environment and kill millions of people. Also, according to Business Insider, in an article titled 3 Reasons Why America's Massive Nuclear Arsenal actually makes the world safer, the US's nuclear arsenal is decades outdated, which is why the US needs to continue to produce nuclear weapons, because if our weapons are outdated, we won't be able to better defend ourselves. And if we can't better defend ourselves, then we're vulnerable to attack, and we do not want to be attacked because we don't want anyone to get hurt in our country. Thank you.
Is it mine? Okay. So overall, we shouldn't ban the production of nuclear weapons just because. So overall, we shouldn't ban the production of nuclear weapons because, like my opponent said, that a lot of people have a painful death, but we wouldn't really go into nuclear war, so I don't think it would ever get that far. And everything is only posed as like a threat, and we want to keep that threat going to help us stay on top. And again, with like the environmental effects, we learned that it's just a threat. So I don't think that we would actually go into nuclear war. and like also like with anxiety and things, people get like they get scared about it. We can help, and people can cope with anxiety and things about that, about going into nuclear war. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Wait, no, I got mine.
Then you got a part.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
There.
I feel terrible. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Go.
Like we have been stating, we must ban the production of nuclear weapons in order to protect our country and also the entire world. We need to ban the production of these terrible weapons. There are only bad outcomes when dealing with nuclear weapons, most of which ends with the thousands of lives taken from this world. Because they are so desired by terrorists and anti-American groups, we can't trust anybody. It is not safe in the hands of anybody. The ability of a ruler to be able to launch a nuke anytime, anywhere jeopardizes the future of this world and the innocent people living on it. And last, the after effects and radiation left by nuclear weapons is devastating to the world and to the ecosystem and can lead to genetic mutation and many more bad effects. Thus, the U.S. should ban the production of nuclear weapons in order to save the innocent people and to save the world.
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Oh yeah.